Hello and welcome. Another edition of the Core Vive Coaches Corner, where I take a few minutes and talk with college coaches from around the country. And we learn a little bit about life on their campus as well as within the locker room from a baseball perspective. Today, we're going to be talking with what I consider to be one of the preeminent top academic athletic institutions in the country. We're going to talk with recruiting coordinator for William and Mary, and Caleb Lang, basically younger coach, but you are now, Caleb, recruiting coordinator that has been thrust into all these changes and caps and name, image, and likeness. So, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for taking the time to join me today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. I know it's a busy time of year, getting ready for the 25-26 season coming up. Talk a little bit about just William and Mary as a campus before we go down the baseball discussion, but just talk a little bit about what makes it so stunning as a college student.
Yeah, I mean, William and Mary goes back a long time. You're looking at 1693, so we're the second oldest in terms of higher education institution behind Harvard, and we have the oldest building still standing in the country. So there's a lot of history there. A lot of the original buildings are still standing. They're newly renovated. We put $700 million into campus over the last couple of years, including brand new student housing, a brand new training facility, upgrades to a lot of the other facilities as well. So, although it is older, it's got a lot of the new renovations and it's state of the art in terms of that. We have a large campus down here. We have 1,200 acres, about 7,000 undergrad, hiking trails, our own private lake on campus that a lot of people don't know about. And then we are one of the top institutions as well. We're one of 8 public Ivy universities with an A+ academics grade from niche. So a lot to love about the campus. If you're looking for a little bit more, I would say, space and the ability to breathe, this is a really nice place. About an hour from Virginia Beach, you have the outdoors, you have the beach, you have great education as well. So it's a really neat place, and a cool place to call home.
So, the coaching staff is what? This is Rob's second year.
Right. Yeah. He came from Niagara University. They went to a regional his last year there and had a really nice year. And then he moved his family down here, and it's Rob McCoy, and then Brad Mincy went to East Carolina. He's our pitching coach. He does a really nice job. Worked with Team USA a bit. Myself, and then we have Kelly Coral, who's our volunteer assistant, and then a lot of students that help out as well.
Talk a little bit about your conference because parents and student athletes in today's world, I don't really, nor have I ever really considered Division 1 to be a mid-major because it's all everybody's on equal footing. It's not quite like football or basketball. But talk a little bit now with the resurgence of a coastal, or Murray State, Wright State doing well in the Nashville regional.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about in your conference, it's highly competitive, and the athletics and the academics really truly offer potential student athletes a great balance and over a 4 or 5 year period.
Yeah, it's a very unique conference, I think, because we have some very high academic schools, and then we have some very high athletic schools, and then we have a combination of both. So in the CAA last year, Northeastern won, and they're out of Boston.
Right.
And then we actually split North and South this year. So in the South, it's us, and you have Charleston, who's a powerhouse every year. You have UNC Wilmington, who's really good every year. You have Campbell, Elon, North Carolina A&T. So it's very competitive, especially here in the South. And you're looking at some really nice teams who are going on the road. We're, playing ACC midweek. We always play Duke, UVA, and I love that about baseball. Where, like you said, it's not like football where you go up against some schools that might be in a little bigger conference or something. You genuinely can beat them on any given day. So it's a really nice conference to play highly competitive baseball and then also have a great education.
As a recruiting coordinator, Caleb, can you share a little bit with students and parents that are watching? What are some of the things that capture your eye over and above metrics? The radar gun or any of that kind of thing. What are some of the initial dynamics to a student athlete that potentially might be a fit at William and Mary?
Yeah, as a recruiting coordinator, I actually really enjoy, getting a little bit more hands-on with the kids and seeing them interact in the dugout and things like that. Obviously, camps are good for that, whether it's ours or someone else's. But I think it's an aspect that's oftentimes overlooked is I really like to recruit players that I can get along with in a way and enjoy spending time with them because I feel like if we can get along and spend time and work together in the right way, then that development aspect can really be pushed and they can reach their ceiling where it's more transformational than transactional. And you're not just punching in for your 2 hour practice. It's like, here's the plan, do this. It's a lot more conversation based, communication based, and you can really understand each athlete, kind of what motivates them, the underlying motivations. A lot of times it's not, hey, I just want to play pro ball, do whatever it is. It's, family background, where they grew up, things like that. So I enjoy, and that's, it can sometimes be personal to each kid, but it's hard to really put a specific metric on those things. But really, I just want to be able to get along with kids that come here, and I want highly competitive kids who want to be great in all aspects of life.
Talk a little bit about, is there a portal dynamic to your recruiting? Do you have more of a, we like to get the high school athlete and build a
Yeah.
culture type of program? Where do you sit with regard to this ever evolving recruiting process, that particularly at the Division 1 level?
Yeah, so with William and Mary, we're quite unique in that we're not getting a lot of undergraduate transfers simply because their classes aren't going to transfer in. So our model is definitely high school first, and then we do a really good job with grad transfers. So I think it's a combination of develop, and then if you need to kind of fill a hole, whether you have an injury or someone didn't pan out, you can go get a grad transfer, especially from programs like the Ivy Leagues who don't have grad school. You have Davidson down in North Carolina, Wofford in South Carolina. You have some schools without graduate schools or guys who are transferring up. Ben Parker was Player of the Year last year in the CAA, and he came from Whitman, which is a Division 3, and he actually just went in the first round of the Savannah Bananas draft, which is cool for him. He'll have fun there, but a lot of unique opportunities. But we're looking high school athletes and then graduate transfers for the most part.
Is there a certain academic threshold that you have to have in order to proceed with, some people call it pre-read. What is
Yeah.
typically the first portion of the recruiting process for you as a staff?
Yeah, so we do
Did
pre-reads. What we're
did you hear
looking
that?
at there is, yeah, yes, sir. Can you hear me? Yeah, so we're
Yes,
looking
sir.
for transcripts to come in. You need to have a minimum of a 3.5 just to be on our radar. So that's kind of the cutoff for a GPA. Now, if you're at a high academic high school, that carries some weight. Also, your core classes, so your sciences, your maths, we want to see higher grades in those. And then we are test optional still. So if you have a certain test grade, we'll add that into the pre-read. You're looking at 1300, 1250, 1300 SAT, things like that. We have a little bit of flexibility with referrals, but the higher academic, the easier it is for us to help you get into school here.
With this whole new world of name, image, and likeness, and the game getting older, how can student athletes at the high school level, and I'm not just strictly talking baseball now, but I'm talking in all facets as they make that transition from high school to college, how can they be best prepared for what the workload and the combination of academic acumen at William and Mary as well as Division I athletics, how can they best prepare while are in high school to kind of transfer that routine into a William and Mary?
I would say time management is going to be really important. I would start to budget and learn how to manage your time. I think in high school you have a lot more free time in some ways compared to college and the demand. But if you can budget out your hours in a week and really see what you're spending your time on and perhaps eliminate a little bit of waste there, whether it's watching sports or playing video games or just scrolling on your phone before bedtime, whatever it is, if you can get an hour back each day and add those 7 hours into your development, that's going to go a long way in setting you apart. So I think the guys that do really well here manage their time and prioritize the things that are important both to them, whether it's academics, athletics, their faith, whatever it is, the things that are really important to them, they budget those hours first, and then from there it's kind of their free hours that they'll budget after that. So time management, I think, is a skill that a lot of high schoolers can do a better job at.
I oftentimes when I'm talking with either it's teams at the high school level or families at the high school level, they don't really understand that dynamic of that canyon that going from high school as far as the day-to-day practices, not just the games, as far as during the spring season, but during the fall, I find that it's a massive jump because of the workload that they're going from a 2 or 3 month high school season to for all intents and purposes, 11 months a year training. Talk a little bit about from a strength perspective. Where is that implemented, or where would you like to see that implemented in the high school athletes? Is that something they should make sure they're getting into a certain routine so that they just take it into college, or how can they best prepare physically for what awaits with regard to the talent level that they're going to be competing with and against?
Yeah, I think if guys have the opportunity or gals have the opportunity to go watch college games, practices in the fall, if a high schooler asked to watch our practice in the fall, we're not going to tell them no. And they can actually see the physicality on the field from an eye to eye level. And they can, compare where they're at and not necessarily just, to compare, but to really understand and self reflect, because it's important to have an understanding of where you're at and where you want to be so that, in 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, you can put that work in daily so that you're actually ready for college baseball, and you don't just think you're ready for college baseball. So um, the more examples that they can see and actually understand what it takes, the better off they're going to be.
So I have a lot of parents that will always be asking me about, oh boy, I don't know if I should go to that school. The academics are going to be too hard. I think it's going to be too much. I think it's going to overwhelm him. He's not going to be able to keep up with the baseball. Can you talk about, especially at a school like a William and Mary, the support staff that is in place, obviously not just for baseball, but for all student athletes, so that they are able to kind of have somebody there making sure, all their ducks are a row with regard to scheduling and papers that need to be written. Talk a little bit about the support staff at William and Mary that helps student athletes.
Yeah, so Taylor is our academic liaison. She works in the athletics office. And part of our $700 million renovation was giving them a bigger space for athletes within academics. So in our arena, we actually added a wing where it's just for athletes. There's multiple people that work in there. Our baseball players work through her to schedule classes and make sure that it aligns with our schedule, and then also we can schedule the more difficult classes in the fall when we're not traveling as much and they can be in class more frequently. And then if they do struggle, we just make sure that the line of communication remains open so we can get on top of it early, get them the appropriate tutors and things like that. And our guys do a good job, whether they come in with a 3.5 in high school, a 4.3 in high school. It's really just making sure that you stay on top of things, you communicate effectively, and you manage your time. And our guys do a good job, whether they, have a 3.9 in college or a 3.1. I think the biggest thing is the network that William and Mary provides with our alumni base. And employers don't really care if you have a 3.1 or a 3.9. They just care about your ability to accomplish tasks on time and do it at a high level.
So talk about that a little bit because I think that gets lost. Trading athletic ability for academic excellence. I've been saying it for decades, but it's so actually factually true. Talk a little bit about, because I know this firsthand, William and Mary Network. I have a lot of friends that attended William
Yeah.
and Mary. Talk a little bit about the value. I think we miss that with regard to, we're so baseball focused and centric. But really, at the end of the day, William and Mary has a huge network across the country. Talk about why that's important when you're becoming a young adult and that spouse, future parent, et cetera, the value of a William and Mary degree.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about degrees and schools in general, you really got to look at it from like a value proposition standpoint and what you're getting from your degree. It's not just the diploma that goes on the wall and people look at it from time to time. It really is. In our business center, we do classes Monday through Thursday. Friday's a networking event. We'll have 15 to 20 businesses come in on Fridays. You get to share your resume, you get to go around, and they're from all over the country. Obviously, a lot more on the East Coast, but we have a lot of West Coast connections. Will Rhymes is with the Dodgers. He's been won a couple World Series, but you can go in just about any direction. And our park's named after Plumeri, who's one of the top 100 finance guys in the history of the United States, and he was a history major here. So, you can take your degree and find something that you really enjoy, and the network within William and Mary is going to help you be employed. 100%. It's actually 100% work in jobs that align with their career interests after college at William and Mary. So you can't get much better than everybody.
I I know you touched on this briefly, and I want to kind of end in this area because I think a lot of parents get this false sense of college camps are just money makers. They don't do anything. They get the volleys of money. But really, in today's world, now that we exist in today, college camps are an integral part of not only you seeing athletes, but athletes seeing your campus and spending time with your coaching staff and meeting Rob and being able to see, is this a fit? Is this someone that I could play for 4 or 5 years? Talk a little bit about your camps and how much you value them with regard to the two-way connecting as far as seeing if it's a fit for you, and then obviously the family seeing if it's a fit for their student athlete.
Important thing with camps is just understanding going in like what your reasoning for going to the camp is. Is it to get signed that day? Is it to understand the level of competition, or the area, or see the school? Is it to get to know the coaching staff? Have you had conversations prior through email, phone, or are you just going in blind because you received, an email that is pretty stock? So I think the important thing is understanding, what the purpose of going to the camp is. And also, if you want to attend William and Mary, $150 for camp is probably a pretty small investment when you're going to be spending a lot on your education in general. So if we can see that you'll travel 6 hours and spend $150 on camp, we know that you're seriously interested, and it's not, we're just not another school on your list. So I think it goes both ways with camps. We sign about half of our guys from our camp in our last two recruiting classes. So guys are getting signed from camp, and a couple of those guys we would not have signed if they did not come to camp, whether they were a little undersized or something. And it just goes back to what I said earlier. You get to interact with someone throughout the course of a full day. Whereas when you go to a field, you're just evaluating them on their skill set and how they did that day and their movement patterns. when you get to actually work with them on field, you're like, okay, I see this skill set, but I also see that they're willing to learn. They can apply something that I say within 2 hours and they learn quick. So I think camps are very beneficial in that aspect.
So I want to let parents know everything and anything to do with William and Mary from a sports perspective is going to be listed in the baseball blue book. Going to have their camps that are going to be located there. Also, Coach Lang, Coach McCoy's contact information. So make sure, you're creating a free profile, but more importantly, look up William and Mary as far as their social media handles and things like that. But Caleb, I have to ask you, in today's world, do you prefer the student athlete to make the initial contact? Are you conversing with these athletes via social media or text or email? How do you typically communicate with potential recruits?
Yeah, I mean, it would usually start with email, or you can direct message me on X or Instagram. That's usually how it starts. We have a questionnaire online. Guys that fill out the questionnaire, it takes 15 minutes. We know, it only takes 30 seconds to send a text or email. If you do something that takes 15 minutes, we see a little bit more of a time commitment. So that's important as well. So those are some ways. Obviously, if I see someone, I'm going to reach out personally. But with how many athletes there are, a lot of guys make the first contact that we end up signing. So it goes both ways. Just make sure that when you send an email or a direct message or something, you include the pertinent information, and it's not, you maybe add a headline that grabs attention, and then your best tool is showcased early in your showcase video. If you say you're a power hitter and your first video is a sack bunt, I'm probably not spending much time on that video. And if you say you're fast and it's there's no speed, then it's going to be tough. So make sure that your best tools are showcased.
And so I just want to slip one final question in.
Yeah.
What's the proper length of a video that you like to watch?
Yeah, I would probably say anywhere from a minute and a half to 2.5 minutes. I'm probably not watching more than that unless I already am in contact with someone where I'm doing a deep dive. You can put 5, 7 swings that'll grab attention. Make sure if you're a catcher and you don't have any defense, that's a problem. If you're a shortstop without any defense, obviously, if you're an outfielder, it's going to be more offensive friendly, but make sure that the position that you are going to play, you showcase that.
And music or no music?
It better be a good song. So I prefer to hear contact of the game and no music. But if you have a really good song, I'll forgive you for it.
Well, Caleb, I want to say thank you so much because I know it's a busy time of year. Please give my best to Rob and the rest of the coaching staff.
Yes, sir.
Folks, everything about William and Mary, obviously Coach Caleb Lang, will be in the podcast description as well as the YouTube video. Feel free, obviously, if you're going to send them a video, you got some parameters. But Caleb, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All proteins are not the same. I encourage you to choose a grass-fed whey protein. The cattle have a cleaner diet, grazing on natural grass, which is going to mean that it's going to have higher branched chain amino acids, also your omegas and your CLAs. I'm telling you, it matters from a recovery standpoint. Choose the best protein and you're going to see the best gains and the best recovery. I'm telling you, athletes, make a wise choice because it matters what you put in your body.